how Rob Manfred should rebuild MLB's TV mess. He should use scarcity and simplicity. We'll get into what we think the plan should be for Major League Baseball, and we'll go over the $550 million ESPN opt-out. That's all next on Everybody Loves Sports Media. I'm Andrew Marchand. He's John Meterparel. We're here for you every week. On Thursdays, we have the main event. On Tuesdays, it's Marchand and Meterparel. Everybody Loves Sports Media. Meet, always great to see you.
Step aside, Lady Gaga, Carrie Underwood, Taylor Dane, Taylor Swift, Andrew Marchand, Mr. Jingle. I love it.
We thought about that before the podcast started. We're now introducing that. Hopefully it catches on.
Sports Radio 66.
Oh, is that what it is? Is that where I'm getting that from?
I think it is.
Like it's in like the recesses of my mind. Speaking of which, Adam Shine, he is kind of, when you combine all the WFAN hosts of all time into one host, that's why I enjoy him, and he'll be the guest on Thursday's main event. What do we have for the agenda today?
Is he Steve Summers too?
I'll go over it. He's schmooze. He's got Mike the Mad Dog. He's got all in there.
He's a hybrid. All right, the agenda. How Rob Manfred can fix this MLB TV mess. I understand you have a plan for it. What went wrong with ESPN? Who is to blame? And why did Manfred go scorched earth?
And we'll also get into the four nations, why the NHL got it so right, what can be learned, and then we'll go over the NFL and ESPN talk. We had John Orand last week where he talked about this Major League Baseball issue a lot as well last week on the main event. We got some big guests coming up on the main event in the next few weeks.
Can't wait for that. And just remember, our first Off the Record with Andrew Marchand, presented by WSC Sports, takes place March 18th in Manhattan with a special guest, ESPN Chairman Jimmy Pitaro. You can go into the show notes to register. Space is limited. Keep that in mind. And it does not guarantee you a spot, but you do not want to miss this on March 18th.
We are sponsored by WSC Sports. It's time-consuming for your editors to create vertical videos, but it's how fans watch content today, so work with WSC Sports to automate vertical video creation and use their SDK to get stories, reels, moments, style, content directly in your owned and operated apps and websites. Just go in the show notes. You also find where you can sign up for the Pitaro event. You go there, you hit the button, go to WSC Sports, the yellow button in the right side. Tell them Marchand sent you. So a couple of things for you to do there. You can also just Google WSC Sports and then do the same thing saying Marchand sent you. Twice weekly podcast. You can upgrade to get the full thing at andrewmarchand.com. Tuesdays and Thursdays. Marchand and Meterparel every Tuesday. That's us. Thursday, the main event, biggest names in the business. Join us on Thursdays.
All right, Andrew, what's up in the Marchand world?
PK Subban. The Four Nations was a huge success, and Subban, he shined. When you watched, he stood out. ESPN really does an excellent job with their hockey coverage. I think they kind of went simple with their just a three-person studio. Steve Levy's a great host. You got Messier, the big name, but then Subban brings it together. He had this to say. He was on Get Up. He was talking about the NHL versus the NBA and the Four Nations.
Listen, hockey's a different sport from the NBA. You can't compare the cultures because of the way the game is played. You can step on an NBA floor and go through the emotions. You can't do that in hockey. You can't. Like, the culture of our sport, you have to play it with passion. You have to be willing to fight. You have to be willing to leave it on the ice. That's what fans are investing in. So for us, when we charge $1,500 for a ticket to come to fans know what they're getting.
So I'm not saying I agree or disagree with what he said, but it's a strong opinion. He comes from being an excellent player. Now he's a commentator. So PK Subban is my what's up.
That's a good one. He was outstanding. That 10-day tournament, I thought that was the best of PK Subban. All right, my what's up. One Sean McDonough, one of the GOATs of play-by-play. What a week he had, calling the Four Nations USA Canada game, and then an NHL game to start it off for him, Washington against the Pittsburgh Penguins, and Sean had a fitting tribute to the late Pittsburgh Penguins broadcaster, Mike Lang. Let's hear it.
On the backhand, he scores! Oh, scratch my back with a hacksaw! Sidney Crosby has tied the game at 2.
All right, now that was a really good touch by McDonough. A lot of guys probably, maybe, I'm sure it was calculated. Of course, he went in knowing that he was going to do that, but a lot of guys couldn't pull that off the way McDonough pulled it off. It seemed like it was just him calling a regular goal and then just going right into it. There was nothing, no pomp and circumstance. It was just Sean's way of saying, "We'll miss you, Mike Lang." And I think every Pittsburgh Penguin fan watching that game was touched by it. And we know people that were touched by Mike Lang, including our good friend Jack Michaels, who grew up watching him, who's now an NHL broadcaster. Many NHL broadcasters were influenced by Mike Lang, and he will be missed. Good job, Sean McDonough.
Yeah, very touching. Jack Michaels is the voice of the Edmonton Oilers, and also a Ithaca College grad, another Ithaca guy who was
It's all about the
class.
IC.
He was your year or a year older?
No, he was a year younger, so he's not as ancient as I am.
Does he have 80s references? We have to have Jack on at some point. All right, my what's down, Rob Manfred. I have no idea. There's a lot of ways I go with this about Manfred, but the big one was I have no idea why he went scorched earth on ESPN, saying that their carriage now and their reach has been shrinking, and that's why he doesn't want to be, partly why he doesn't want to be on ESPN anymore. I mean, there's no way that's true. If ESPN was willing to continue to pay him $550 million, he'd still be on ESPN. MLB would not have opted out. Secondly, ESPN's reach is good enough for the NFL, the NBA, college football playoffs. I go on and on. They might have the best portfolio in sports television history. And we'll get into this, Manfred might want to do a U-turn and go back to Jimmy Pitaro and say, hey, let's try to get a deal done here, as opposed to just killing ESPN's platform, which, again, I don't think it makes it so they can't make another deal and continue with ESPN, which ESPN clearly wants to continue, just not at the $550 million, which at this point is way above what the value is. Then I think, why do that? My what's down? Rob Manfred.
Yeah, we'll get into that in a moment. Build around that for Rob Manfred. All right, my what's down? Steve Smith, NFL Network. My, oh my. What a rough 48 hours on social media for one Steve Smith. This thing went viral, I think, on Saturday night. Salacious allegations about salacious interludes. No, that's not a movie that Andrew Marchand used to watch on Cinemax in an Ithaca dorm. That's a Steve Smith social media issue. And I can't really get into it here, but let's just say it's not a good look for Steve, for a guy who's trying to build up his broadcasting empire with the NFL Network. Probably not the best way to go. Again, all allegations, but there is some video evidence. You know what? He's not the first guy that stepped into this mess. Probably won't be the last, but I'm not sure the NFL Network liked all this shaken down the way it did.
No, and that was well done by you. You might get my what's up because when the rundown comes in, so we do a rundown, we put in everything that we want to talk about, and Meterparel put Steve Smith in there as his what's down. I'm like, ooh, all right, I got to hear how he's going to say this one. But you handled it very well.
Thank you.
You want to listen to the rest of the podcast? AndrewMarchand.com. AndrewMarchand.com. You upgrade, you get all the podcasts, all the archives, some great interviews. Mark Shapiro back in the day, recently Adam Schefter, Peter King. There's a lot there in the archives that you can go hours and hours of listening to. So AndrewMarchand.com.